It's the site of a new BBC Two documentary called Helping Our Teens, which sees a behavioural expert, Marie Gentles, work with this secondary school to see what she can do with her compassionate approach, as she calls it, to prevent exclusions. Now, this place is right in the middle of the Black Country, in the sort of Upper Gornal area, and you don't get any more Black Country than that, in my view. And I must say, as soon as I switched it on, I took a shine to the headmaster. Here he is, supervising the kind of the roll call as they're making their way into school at the beginning of the day.
Shirts in, boys. Shirt, tie. Ezekiel, keep moving.
Sukhjot Dami's been the school's head teacher for nearly 3 years.
Guys, where are you all off to? Okay, carry on.
I think when I first used the megaphone, they just looked at me to say, what on earth is he doing? But yeah, it's just a good way to move students on.
Come on, lads, let's show a bit more urgency.
I wish I had a tannoy system across the whole school, but this is the next best thing.
Well done, looking smart.
And Mr. Dami joins us now, principal of Beacon Hill Academy. Thanks for coming on. I think Ezekiel, keep moving, shouted through a megaphone, is the best bit of television I've seen all week for some reason. It just sort of tickled me no end. Do they comply with your requests generally?
First time I ever did it, they just stood still and looked at me and say, what on earth is he doing? But now it's just become the norm. And so more times than not, they just crack on with it. So if the megaphone has to come out, they know they're going to be in trouble.
So with your school, historically, how much of a problem was there with the behaviour of the kids? And we go from 11 to 18, do we there?
Yeah, that's right. 11 to 16, so
right, okay.
five-year groups, and I've actually been there for 19 years now, but I took over as head teacher around 4 years ago, and we went from being Hierarchal to Beacon Hill Academy, and behaviour was not good at the time, and we really needed a refresh in our behaviour system, and so the academy...
What kind of things were going wrong? What kind of misbehaviour, just so we can get a picture?
Yeah, so generally speaking, lots of low-level disruption, poor standards of uniform, disrespect towards each other and teachers, but, that is completely gone now in that, we do have really high standards and expectations as a result of the amazing work that the staff have done at the school.
Mm-hmm. And you were up to, it says in the doc, but I didn't really understand that, you excluding 400 children a year. I mean, that's not all the 400 children all year. There'd be nobody left in the school, would there?
No.
What are those short exclusions?
Yeah, so they're fixed term exclusions, so that might be a day or 2 days. That number is now down to single figures. But what we did need to do at the time was to rebalance behaviour, and we needed to make sure that we had real high standards and real high expectations, and anyone that didn't conform had a consequence. But 4 years on, we're in a different place. But that said, there are still other challenges, and those are the sort of challenges that you see in this documentary.
Mm-hmm. So, Marie Gentles, behaviour expert, brought in. What did you see when you first got there, Marie? And thanks for coming on to talk about this, by the way. And what did you hope to achieve with your approach?
Well, what I saw when I first got there was a school and a team of staff who are really, really dedicated to doing the best for the young people within their school. However, as Mr. Dami has just said, just like every school, there were still areas to work on with particular young people, but the work that I could do to support the school would also help a number of young people. But I think one of the main things I saw when I first went in was this real dedicated staff team who were really wanted to continue to improve in regards to what they were doing to support these young people.
When you say compassionate approach with your work, that I take it that means something the opposite of, behave yourself or else. There's another way of doing it, which, it's kind of sounds like a very modern approach. Does it work?
Yes, and I think what I would say, because this can be quite misunderstood, it's about balance. So it's not about allowing young people to get away with behaviour or, you know, they never have a consequence. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding why the behaviour has occurred and what the needs are that has manifested into this undesirable behaviour. And so balancing out the boundaries, the expectations with the attachment, which is the relationships with those young people, the language, and really understanding where this behaviour has come from. And then supporting it from there. So it is a balance. It's not about not having any boundaries or expectations or anything like that, or consequences.
Okay, one of the students you help is Jalia. Have I said that right?
Yes, Jalia.
Yes, good. Jalia, and she has a diagnosis of ADHD and something I haven't come across, ODD, oppositional defiance disorder. So in episode 1, here she is explaining how she feels.
It's kind of confusing, sometimes overwhelming, exhausting, because when you're out and you act a certain way, people look at you and they judge you and they think, what is she doing? But that's just me being me. I talk a lot, I fidget a lot, I get up a lot, and I have to do something to keep me occupied, concentrating. A lot of people think sometimes I'm aggressive. I'm not aggressive. Once you get to know me deep down, I'm nothing like that. Nothing like that. And
Jalia is one of the ones who works with Marie, who begins to help her manage her behaviour.
I walked out of isolation.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to get suspended, so I was already like stressing out a lot.
Yeah.
And I got upset, like not angry, I got upset. Yeah. And I went to the toilets because obviously I wasn't gonna cry in SE. So I went to the toilets and I needed to calm down for a little bit.
What I'm hearing is that for some of these behaviours, actually underneath some of it is like the fear or worry or panic or anxiety. Am I right in saying that? Yeah? So it's not an excuse. I'm not excusing it because I had to have school rules in my school as well. Let's help you to make sure that you can meet those rules, and let's help you to make sure that you feel that I can hear you when you're talking. I just need a moment sometimes. Let's put that in place for you to help you. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And Jalia joins us now. Thanks for coming on, Jalia. So what differences is made to you? How are you a different person now?
I'm more calm. I don't react as much. I listen to the teachers now and try to get their point of view as well as mine, and I try to explain mine as well. But they do listen now, and that's good.
Okay, so and what has Marie said to you? We got a flavour there, but what kind of things has Marie said to you that have made a difference? What strategies do you have?
She told me that I needed to start keeping calm and start listening. And also she told me that it was okay to feel this type of way, but the way I react to it, it's not okay. And she's helped me challenge that.
Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, what might the approach have been? I mean, it sounds like she was just a bit more patient with you. Maybe she had a bit more time to be patient with you, I don't know, than sort of overworked teachers, perhaps. But what was the difference?
She helped me just calm down and just listen. She listened to me, which I really liked because at the time teachers didn't really listen to me. They just saw angry girl. And with Marie, she actually listened to me and understood me, which was really good.
And so, thanks for that. So, Marie, I mean, it must be difficult for you, and I'm sure you don't do it like this, to go back to the teachers and say, look, you just need to listen to her a bit more. I mean, I'm sure most teachers know that. They just haven't got the time.
Yeah, I think what's important is my background as well. I'm a teacher. I've done the job. And actually, it's very difficult because I think it goes beyond just listening as well. It's about knowing what to do. And knowing maybe a slightly different way to do things but still keeping those boundaries and still keeping those expectations. So really looking at how do we support these young people? We're not allowing them to get away with things, but how do we support them to meet their need? Which then helps to significantly reduce the risk of those undesirable behaviours reoccurring.
Is it helpful to put a name to some of these things, like I've got an ADHD diagnosis myself. I know what that means. But then I see, oppositional defiance disorder. And I mean, a lot of people will be thinking, hang on, are you just pathologising sort of naughtiness there?
Yeah. I mean, I hear this a lot from parents and professionals alike. Everyone's got quite different opinions about it all. But to me, I think that we have to kind of go beyond the label, so to speak. We just have to look at what's presented and where it's come from. I think that's the most important thing, is understanding that these are needs, and the need has been labelled, but the key is how do we meet that need? Because like Jaylee has already said, she still gets overwhelmed. The feelings aren't going to go away, but now she's learned how to manage those feelings in a different way. You cannot stop the need or eliminate the need. And I think, there's different opinions. I don't have one opinion one way or the other, but I think it's more about understanding that there is a need for these young people.
I better hear from Mr. Darmy before he gets his megaphone out again to get a word in edgeways here. What have you learnt?
I think the key to all of this is relationships, and it's developing those relationships with all of our learners. Now, albeit that can be a big task, we've got over 1,000 students at Beacon Hill Academy, one of the biggest schools in Dudley, but actually, there was a time when Jay and I couldn't necessarily be in the same room together, and here we are talking to each other, having friendly conversations, and that has taken time. So, going back to your point earlier, there is an element of patience, but it's also about understanding the individual learner, and working with Marie, we've really been able to develop that further at Beacon Hill.
Okay, I'm delighted to hear it. I'd love to come in and see you with your megaphone in action. I spend a lot of time around that area. All right, well, I'll be in touch. Do give this a watch tonight. It's quite difficult. You need to see it in action, which is what you do on this programme, Helping Our Teens. It's on BBC Two tonight at 9 o'clock. So talking about it can be slightly come across as sort of therapy speak. It doesn't make sense until you actually see it happening. So it's well worth seeing. So Helping Our Teens on BBC Two tonight at 9 p.m. Thanks to Mr. Darmy, the principal at the Beacon Hill Academy, also Marie Gentles, and most of all, Jaylee, for coming on and talking to us. It's just coming on to